So I grew up in a home where my dad was my dad, your father, the person that disciplines you when you are wrong, the person that you ask for money, the person whose word is law. I mean, my dad is the kind of man that nobody on earth that is alive. In fact, after his dad died, there's nobody on earth that can talk to him and he will listen. And early in my life, I decided that I would not be like, because I feel like as a man, when you get to that point where no man on earth can talk to you and you will listen, it's a very dangerous place to be. Very dangerous. So my dad is like that. So I grew up in a house like that. And my mom is a typical good girl. She got married to my dad basically because her dad was sick, they needed money, and this man wanted to get married to her. And she had somebody she liked, but it was now looking like you want to let your daddy die because of, so somehow she just got married to him. So my dad used to verbally abuse me. I'm not sure he knew it was verbal abuse because he would constantly compare me with other children. In church where you have children joining drama unit and all. I mean, I am very reserved, very quiet. I don't like to talk, you know. But he did not understand that about me. So he kept comparing me to them up to the point where I started to feel like there was something wrong with me. So anywhere I went, automatically I started to compare myself with other children. And Joyce Meyer said that when you play the comparison game, you never win because somehow you always put yourself, you always put people above you somehow. So I grew up like that, and so there was no relationship. We didn't used to talk. My parents were my parents, and then we were the children. So there was that gap. And so my cousin that was living with us started sexually abusing me when I was like 9. So I couldn't talk to them because, I mean, you just do not jump from "Have you done your homework?" to start talking about somebody sexually abused me. So it was just not going to happen. So I grew up like that, and so verbal abuse, sexual abuse, and I had a terrible low self-esteem. My dad made me feel like there was nothing I could do that would impress him, nothing at all. So I grew up like that, went to secondary school, and somehow started hanging out with the wrong set of people. And he saw me outside of school one day, and he just pushed me to stay with my uncle in Jos because he was going to pay my school fees and all. And so my auntie is a kind of, or she made me feel like I was this family member that came to spend her husband's money and everything. So she did and said terrible, terrible things to me. So it made my low self-esteem even worse. And I told my parents I wanted to come back for the holiday. No, you stay there because when you come back, you join bad boys. So it was like I was not wanted in my auntie's house, and my parents did not also want me to come back. And so I hit the streets, and I saw these guys that made me, I used to think it was love, but I just realized they just accepted me. And at that point, that was just what I needed. And so when they accepted me, everything they did, I started to do. That's when I started to smoke weed, and I used every kind of drug except cocaine. And that was because I knew that I was broke, and I knew it was expensive. So I knew that if I tried this one, I'm on my own. So I went to university, I started to sell drugs and use drugs. So it was that circle. And then I became sexually loose, right? So it was just a whole cycle of low self-esteem. The drugs will make you high. It takes you high, in quotes. So when I smoke, I'm able to, before now, if you want to bring me up to talk, like, you have to kill me. It's not going to happen. But if I smoke, no, I can't talk to anyone. Everybody just becomes like, so did it work? Yes. Some people try to tell children, okay, don't do this, don't do that. See, every individual wants to know why. So you tell children not to do a lot of things. They don't know why. Because in my mind then, I wasn't troubling anybody. I just smoke, I get high, and I get confident. So I'm not troubling anybody. So there's no reason for me to stop what I was doing. And people did not even know because I'm very quiet. So it just made me more quiet and composed and everything. So when you see me, you just like me. Like, this guy is cool. So I lived like that. Low self-esteem, drugs, you get high, sex with whatever girl is available, and then you are down again. And then you start again. Drugs. So it was that cycle until I got expelled. So my mom called me when I was expelled and she said, why didn't you talk to me? And I feel like I was talking to her, she was hearing me, but she was not listening. So it's two different things. I can be hearing you, but I'm actually not listening to you. Because like me now, when I go out, I hear Nigerian music, but I'm not listening to it because it doesn't make, sorry to say, it doesn't make sense to me because I'm kind of like a deep person. So when I listen to music, I really listen. So when I'm somewhere and they're playing all those songs, I'm hearing it, but I'm really not listening. Right? So I felt like she was hearing me, she was not listening. Because there were many times I told her, I don't want to stay in this house anymore. I want to come back home. All you heard is, I want to come back home. You did not hear that I don't want to stay in this place again. So I had to go to rehab because I was tired of the life I was living. I just wanted it to stop. It was so bad. When I tried to stop, I felt sick. And my guy told me that I know what is wrong now. Why am I doing like this? And I smoked a blunt of weed and I was fine. So it was that bad. I couldn't just stop. Right? So I was tired of the life. I didn't want to go home and meet my mom crying and everything. So I just wanted a solution. So my dad came to school that time for the first time. He came, in fact, he didn't even know where my school was, but when I was expelled, he came to take me out of school. And somebody just told him, there's this place, Kadam, where Dr. Adeji talked about. So they help people like this. And I was like, I will go. Because anything to go and face my mom crying and everything. So I said I will go. And anything they are doing there, I will do. I decided that anything they will do in that place, I will do. So I went there. I was there for 1 year. And in fact, some days before we went there, I started to fall sick. In fact, my dad looked at me and called my mom and said, this boy is like he will die because the way the thing is looking. So somehow I got to rehab and it's called withdrawal symptoms. So I had withdrawal symptoms, terrible ones. And then I asked the people in that place that, has anybody ever died from withdrawal symptoms in the 20-something years people have been running this thing? They said no. I said, no, I can't be the first to die in this place. And so I was fine because when we go there, I came late after they had admitted the sets I joined. So whenever they do that, the first 2 weeks is for withdrawal. In fact, some people run away at that point. They think they will die and they just run because they don't lock up the place. You can go anytime you like. Just that you sign off that you are leaving. You are no longer in their care. So when I went there, they thought I would leave because when I'm just walking around, I noticed some people just standing around and look. I'm like, look at these people. Me that I used to sell weed. I know all the security. What are you people? I'm not. In fact, one guy even told me I will not stay in this place. I will leave. But in my head, I was determined to stop this thing. So I finished my 1 year, and to me, it was the best 1 year of my life because in school, I knew how to edit videos, but when I thought about my future, it's like when you close your eyes like this, it was dark. When I thought of what will I do, it was just black. I could not see anything. So I said, okay, what I'll do is, Mexico is a place where they, do drugs, and so maybe one guy said he will hook me up. He said he will hook me up and I'll just go I probably would have died because look at me now. What will I? So that was the plan. I was going to go to Mexico and sell drugs on a big scale. Because when I thought of my future, it was just black. So that 1 year was like the best 1 year of my life because I was able to get off drugs and everything. And by the mercy of God, I was the first person in that school that was actually expelled, and they agreed to take back. So I came back to my 400 level, and I finished my education. And after that time, when they want to expel somebody for drugs, they ask you, are you going to go to Kadam or? And some people, they will agree to go for 1 year and come back. Some people, funny enough, they will not agree. And some parents will not admit that, okay, my child is doing drugs and everything. So for me not to forget, I want to just quickly share 5 things I think that, I picked up from the story. And so, words are very powerful. We need to be careful what we say to our children. Everything you see around you is a product of words. People spoke to each other. I was spoken to before I came here. Everybody here was spoken to. So imagine a world where we don't talk. Nothing will happen. Every single thing you see. When I wanted to buy this phone, I spoke to him. I want to buy a... So words are the core. God created the world with words alone. So we need to be very careful what we say to our children. My dad was always saying things to me that made me feel like something was wrong with me. And then I believed that something was actually, wrong with me because of the things he kept saying to me constantly. So the second thing is have a relationship with your children. I feel like God has given us a model of how we should raise our children. God wants us, when we sin, the first thing we should do is to come back to Him. Why is it that when our children make a mistake, I went somewhere to speak some days ago, and I asked them, which of you here, if you get pregnant, the first person you call is your mom? They say, because they know. But that's not how God is. No matter what you have done, God expects you to come back to Him first, because He won't judge you. But we find that children, they cannot come back to that. And it might not even be that kind of mistake. This man just lost his school fees, 200,000. He could not go back to his dad. Meanwhile, whatsoever God has given you that you lost or you feel that, you can come back to Him. So it's important that you build the relationship. So like I said, you don't go from, have you done your homework, to, do you have a boyfriend? It doesn't work like that. All their life is, have you done this? Have you done this? Then one day you just come, do you have a boyfriend? They won't answer you. They will think, what kind of trap is it? They won't answer you. So you need to build the relationship and grow with your children. The way you talk to them when they are 5 is not the same way you talk to them. Parenting is hard work. I feel like in this part of the world, we are reared. We are not raised. Like the way you rear chickens, you feed them the same thing. You do. So somebody said something about one size does not fit all. And I believe that thing so strongly because I learned it. My dad did not understand me. So you can come back home, one of your children runs to hug you, and the other one is by the side, say, Mommy, welcome. And then you now start to shout at that one. Don't you see that your brother came to? You need to understand their love language, their temperament, and know exactly how to treat each of them differently. That's very important. And I've spoken about knowing your children's temperament and everything, which is the third one. The fourth one is listen to your children. Like I said, sometimes you can be hearing, but you are not listening. It's very important. You need to grow up with them. Let them know that they can have an opinion. They are individuals. They are human beings. They are first human beings before they are children. And every human being has the right to at least express themselves. But in this part of the world, you dare not talk back. You dare not. You dare not have an opinion. Whatever they say to you, my dad's word was law. Whatever he said, whether you like it or... He's not asking you. He's telling you what to do. I was going to write WAEC one time, and he told me, we need to go and register you in a miracle center because you won't pass this WAEC. And I believed it. It was my mom that called me to the time and said, Guy, it's not WAEC. The people that you will pass this WAEC, you will write it and you will pass it. I went back to the school. Why I came, and my classmates were buying, they call it chokes then. So we have the exam questions before the exam. They were buying it, and I decided not to buy. Why? Because my mom told me I'm going to pass. I wrote the why, and I passed. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm smart too. But my dad just made me feel like I'm not smart. So, like the other guy said, we need to, which is the last point, we need to let our children know that we believe in them. I mean, if you don't believe, they will know. You can't fake it. They will know. My mom believed in me. She stood by me all through the process of the drug, everything. She stood by me. She supported me all through. I went to write an exam one time, and when I went there, because of my low self-esteem, I saw like 300 people. And I just called them, like, oh, these people are plenty. And she said, if they are going to give admission to one person in that place, it's you. You need to see the way I entered the exam. Well, like all these ones, you just came to fail. It's me. It's me. So it's very important to do that, right? So I just feel like people need to be very intentional. Like someone talked about intentional parenting. Lastly, what I will say is, it's amazing how people learn how to drive. They learn how to use a computer. They learn how to use the phone. But when it comes to parenting, I mean, you just have the children and just start raising them. That you can afford a car does not mean you can drive it. You still have to go and learn how to drive, even if you can afford the car. So that you can have children, it's not enough. You need to learn how to. When last did anybody read a book on? I mean, there's no manual, yes, but there are principles that you can read about and know what to do when certain things come up. Thank you very much.